So we get the weekend. But they probably have additions. Is there?
Yeah, because you got to all get together. Part of the tractor with their spirit.
You don't hang.
No, I just dropped. And then the next tractor, you're always walking.
Okay, I'll call this Board of Selectmen meeting to order for Thursday, September 6, 2018. Start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Are there any agenda items you'd like to add to tonight's agenda? Okay. And I'll move we approve the agenda as it is. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Public participation. Any public participation? Yes.
Marie D'Souza, 10 Rice Road, Broderick. Just for clarification, this casino impact fund is not on the agenda, so it's not going to be heard tonight.
The casino itself is on the agenda.
Yeah, but the impact is different than an update on the casino. This has a greater effect on the town and what we do as a whole. The original impact fund, there was several hundred people over at the middle school that we had to move from here to there, move from the cafeteria to the gym to accommodate everyone. I think we've done a disservice to the public and their interest when it comes to this by not having it clearly stated on the agenda.
Okay, we'll clearly state it on the agenda.
And then
next week, we will talk about it under casino this week.
Okay, appreciate it.
Further public participation. Yes.
Bob Light, 80 Rye Street. I see you got on the agenda again the Brook Mill remediation.
Yes.
And I want to encourage you, we had a pretty lively meeting that they did, a hearing a week or two ago. And I want to encourage you to do everything you can to work with them. I've attended the last 2 or 3 of their meetings. They're going to make a presentation to you tonight. And this is really a good opportunity. I saw somebody posted on something on Facebook for the town to come together in the best interest of this town. This isn't an issue for the East versus the West, the Republicans versus the Democrats. It's one where we can all come together in the best interest of the town. I don't know of anybody that has spoken against how they would like the remediation of that mill site taken care of. But it's a good opportunity for you guys to get behind them. They're going to make some presentations and ask some things of you. Of course, it'll all come out to the almighty dollar at some point. I guess they've already hired some consultants that have something to say. And if it's necessary to hire, like Paul said the last time, some legal advice, I think it's extremely important in the best interest of the town.
Thank you. And actually, in response to both of these, I went to a few planning and zoning commissions, and what they say, and I'm advocating only part of what they say. They say that if a topic's going to be brought up, you should they'll have discussion on discussion during the topic. But I think we could have both, but I don't see why we can't discuss a particular topic like the casino or like the remediation if it's on the agenda, while it's on the agenda too. Because some people might have some things they want to put in, so maybe we'll change that at the next meeting. Okay, further public participation. Yes.
Bill Lewis, Melrose Road. The day after that meeting, I went down to Environmental Services, and I got a quote on removing that contaminated material. They're a company that took away the mercury when that was down there, so they're familiar with the site. They gave me a quote of $455,000 to take it out of there, put it on a truck, car it out, and really fill the holes in. So So that $455,000 is a minor amount compared to what they want to do down there. I think it's, should be done, and I gave that to the committee, and I think they should work on it.
Bill, did you manage to get a quote from them as to what it would cost to do what UTC is planning to do? Dig it up and pile it in a...
They would not do that. They want to put it on their own trucks, because once it leaves town here, they put it on a truck and they cover it up, and they take it out of town. And they don't want anybody else responsible for loading on the trucks or anything like that. So they want to load it down.
But what if we could work with UTC to have them, use them as a service provider and dig it up and place it in the pile, in the consolidation area?
He told me he was going to do the whole thing. They do not do partial work, because some of it may not be removed from that site, then this way they're responsible for the whole thing. And that's what they did when they took the mercury out.
We're struggling to get price difference.
Yeah.
We can't get a delta price. We've talked.
You can talk to them, but that's what the quote I got.
Well, thank you for doing that.
You're welcome.
Anything further? Yes.
Yeah. So environmental services to do the job for $455,000, and there's 1.3 million of our money out there.
Taxpayer money.
That's right. I think it's a non-issue. I think we should be telling UTC, this is the way to get it done, the problem goes away and you're done. We don't want it in a pile. We made it very clear that we don't want it in a pile under any conditions. So take it away, it's cheap. And you're done, and taxpayer money can cover it. End of story, doesn't cost them a dime, they have no excuse.
My concern would be the excuse will be the liability if we renege on having Hamilton, or whatever they want to call them, UTC, not remove it, and we take that responsibility, then we're responsible for that from the time somebody starts digging it out, and I don't think the town wants that liability. Let UTC pay for it. And it should be easy to get the price difference between the 455 and what UTC is saying it's going to cost them to move it from point A to point B, just subtract the two numbers. It should be in their proposal.
Can't find it.
Okay, I think I was misunderstood. I'm not interested in having the town do anything. I'm interested in having UTC hire environmental services to do the job. There is a
Then I
price,
misunderstood.
and the money's available. And it's taxpayer money, not their money. They have nothing to stand on as to why it doesn't leave. Regardless of the cost of piling it, it doesn't matter anymore. When it gets that cheap and we already have the money, you do the job. We don't do it, they do it. It's their project, their responsibility, but the means are available, the money's available, it's over. They don't want to do that, then we hire an attorney and we go after them because that's ridiculous.
Okay. Further public participation? Okay, moving along then. We'll have a meeting minutes approval. So I move we approve the regular meeting minutes of August 16th, 2018.
I'll second that.
I believe we have to amend them.
Okay.
On page 5, we have raised Steve Dearborn to the first selectman's position. Paragraph 2, halfway down, it says first selectman Dearborn reported. So we should amend it to deputy first selectman.
Yes. Okay, has that?
Page 5.
Yes.
So can I make your motion as amended?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Make a motion.
Is there further amendments? Okay, so I will amend the motion to add Andy's thing. So all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that's aye. So all those in favor of, accepting the motion as amended?
Second.
And Andy, are you for accepting the motion as amended? I'm sorry, Charlie?
Yes.
Okay, I move to approve the special meeting minutes of August 22nd, 2018.
Second.
Okay, is there any changes to the special meeting minutes of August 22nd, 2018? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes?
Aye.
Okay. I move to approve the minutes, the special meeting minutes of August 24th, 2018. Is there a second?
Second.
Any additions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. I move to approve the special meeting minutes of August 29th, 2018. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I'll abstain, I wasn't here.
Okay. All right, moving on to communications. Is there any communications? I have one thing I'd like to communicate, and that's the Four-Town Fair. I have just one booklet left. It's September 13th to the 16th. They have a website, and since I only have one booklet, and there's an awful lot of information in here. If you want to know more about it, go to their website, and it's pretty easy to remember. It's just fourtownfair.com, all one word. So go to their website, and you'll hear more about it. It's the 13th it starts, and I believe the parade is Saturday the 15th. So, okay. There's no board commissions or resignations and appointments, so we'll go on to unfinished business. The 250th anniversary. We're 2.5 weeks away from the Heritage Day Parade.
Yes, we are. I have the flyers up here for Heritage Day and then for the burying of the time capsule the day after on the 23rd. We are still collecting items to be buried in the time capsule. We have the baskets at the town hall and the clerk's office, the Broadbrook Library, and the Warehouse Point Library. So if you want to put something in the time capsule, put it in one of those baskets or bring it on a Heritage Day, and we'll put it in the time capsule. Yeah, the September's here. So we have gotten our final stuff together as much as we can. I believe our final number right now is about 60 groups walking and participating in the parade. So we have a very full parade. It goes from one end of the res to the other end of the res and a little bit outside of the res. So it'll be a long, fun parade with everybody. We have 5 different judges, and the judging stand will be at the Broadbrook Library. And we got awards. They're going to be plaques, and then we'll announce the winners of those awards at the actual event after the parade ends, and once we get all the judges awards and picks and everything. And also we have East Windsor Spirit Awards that was done previous years for a while during Community Day. There's a form on our website, ew250.com, under Heritage Day that you can go find a form you can fill out to nominate an East Windsor resident who has had an impact for the good of this community, and just send it in as an email, and we will review them and pass out those awards as well. We have Stray Dogs, we have Chirp Dynamic, Dance Group. We've got a lot of stuff coming, so it's going to be one full day of fun from 2:50 on up until the fireworks.
Great.
So, I don't know, my brain is everywhere. Are there any questions?
Good job.
All right.
You've done a good job.
Thank you, guys.
But we are looking for volunteers still.
Yep.
Anybody wants to volunteer, we need
Sign up
volunteers.
online. The link is also on our website under the Heritage Day event tab. So,
Only because there's so many people in the parade, most of those people would be volunteering. They're all in the parade, so we're kind of tight on volunteers.
any help is good help. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the next item is the casino, and Dan Capiello is here, so from the MMCT, so he can give us a report and answer any questions.
All right. First, sorry I was not here last month. Family vacation kept me from being here. Not that I wouldn't want to spend my vacation in Windsor. My family would never allow that. So on the outside, we are still dealing with the court case and suing, along with the state, the Department of the Interior with regards to them not publishing in the National Register the National Ticket Pequots deemed approval status of the compact amendment. But behind the scenes, we've been meeting every couple of weeks, as we always do. The NMCT has been expending money and putting all the plans together for the building, design and everything else. So we're still moving forward, doing everything we can do behind the scenes until we get that court case settled. But we're still moving forward.
Dave, how close is that court case? I understand that the arguments are complete and it's in the hands of the judge.
That is my understanding, but I hesitate to say that because I'm not an attorney in those proceedings. But you know, do we expect it to be ruled soon? Yes, but if I say that, I'm afraid I'll be wrong because you know, it's not beyond my control completely, beyond our control. But you know, we believe in the end, ultimately, they have one choice and to rule in our favor. But I will say that a certain company has been successful at slowing us down while they are operating close by. The only folks that are hurting are the people of the state of Connecticut because we would be a year into this and almost done by now if the Department of Interior did not do this, and we would be almost operational by now.
Any good judgment as to when the legal system will come to an end and say yes or no?
I hesitate to guess. I have heard some folks, so they believe it will be sometime this year, which is only a few months left in the year. But again, I'd be guessing and even making a statement based upon the court's decision, and I don't like to do that since it's, again, it's way beyond my control and authority.
So it is not imminent? You don't expect it next week or the week after kind of thing?
I don't expect it, but it could be. It could be. Just like, you know, we weren't expecting the Department of the Interior to finally do the right thing with the Mohegan decision. On May 31st we found out, and the next day they were going to publish that. Yeah. Because of the pressure that was being brought to bear. So I just hate to guess, because if I guess a date or a time and we don't get it, you know, I'll be wrong. I'd rather be pleasantly surprised than to be wrong.
The lawsuit now consists of the state of Connecticut and the Mashantuckets, is that correct?
Correct.
Mohegan Sun is out because they got approved.
I still think that they are involved in the case, even though because they're part of MMCT.
Yep.
But the Mohegan issue was settled on June 1st. And again, I think I said this last time I was here. The documents are identical. They have a different name. Right? They have a different
They are literally identical?
They are literally identical. And they have had, there have been rulings and decisions and opinions, as to say, over the years that refer to them as being identical within the department. So it really is mind-boggling that they have decided to say this compact has been approved, this one has not hit a name. But without getting too far in front of myself, these days not too much surprises me.
But nothing will go forward until that is approved, is that correct?
The law,
well, except for your planning and drawing.
But the law states the approval of the casino based upon the Department of the Interior's approval.
However, once upon a time, MMCT said that they would proceed with it anyway, you know, and
Well,
not take the breakage, but take the risk, I guess, that it will eventually be approved. That's not going to happen?
Well, there are separate issues. There's a Department of the Interior, that issue is dealing with the law, and let's just say that goes away. MGM said, we're going to sue. They can sue all they want. MCT has said, we're going to move forward with that. But because of this bill, because that language in the bill, they can't open a casino, but we're still spending the money and doing the other work that is necessary in preparation for what they do believe to be imminent, but again, I hate to say imminent as the next week or two. They just think it's ultimately going to happen in their belief.
David, could you refresh me in terms of, from the time you get that okay to do that, what would be the shovel date?
I think they would, it would be almost immediate.
Okay.
There's pressure building up.
Okay.
We're really getting everything else done, you know, and maybe not as quickly because we haven't.
30 to 45 days kind of
We're
thing?
talking, yeah, I would say they get that approval, it's happening, you know, sooner than later. They're gonna, because they've already been talking, they've already been speaking with folks who would finance the project. And so there's this pressure building up for when that happens, they're gonna be ready to go.
Okay.
Are you concerned that it might run into the period of the next legislative session? Strange things happen in Hartford.
They do. If it happens then, okay, I think it would be, I would like for it to happen sooner, but that would be good news because we would then be able to get things going during the session. You know, the sooner it happens, the better. The sooner it happens for everyone's sake.
Yeah.
You know, for East Windsor, for MMCT, for the state of Connecticut,
Yep.
because I'm assuming there will be a loss of revenue next several months you know, for the state of Connecticut. You know, there's interest across the border right now, something new, and I do think many people will come back. But for now, I think there will be a hit to the state of Connecticut's revenues and to jobs. And there'll be job growth there, not here, because of activities down in Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you for coming.
My pleasure. I will see you early October.
Good. Thanks.
And now, we can have questions too. I wanted to bring up what Marie talked about before, and that's the ordinance to set up a separate fund for the casino impact money that comes, the $3 million that will come 15 months before the casino opens and then annually thereafter. I have a copy of that on the table. I put it out. And what we're planning to do is have it as, in a sense, part of the ballot that on November 6th. So it'll be in a referendum. And I'm working out the logistics of that now, but I haven't talked to the registrars in detail, but talked to our town clerk has talked to the Secretary of State, talked to the attorney, and it looks like this is what we're going to do. We're going to have, there'll be two ballots. There'll be the regular state election of governor, and then there'll be another ballot that would just have this ordinance question on it, and it'll be a yes or no question. The ordinance ballot will be of a different color, and we're working out the logistics of everybody who's a registered voter and comes to vote can vote on this ordinance. People who are property owners but not registered voters would have to be approved by a different group than the registrars. At least they'd have a voter list, a property list there, and they would have to identify themselves that's on the property list. There's not too many people that would do that, but that's our general way we're going to handle it. So really, it'll be everybody in town who's eligible to vote will be able to vote on that particular ordinance, and all it's right there, and all it really does is establish a separate fund from the casino. It'll be a town fund, but not part of the general fund, and it'll be used, and if the casino ever went away, then any police officers, whoever is hired because of the casino would be accounted for in that fund. So it's a way of accounting for the money and also distributing the money when we figure out how to distribute it, to keep it separate from the general fund. Any questions?
You realize this election has state reps, and you have two districts over on the other side of town, so you're going to have two separate entities over on that side of town because there's two districts, 57 and 59. And now
Well,
you're saying you're going to have a third document to be handed out?
Yes. Different color though. Would be pretty identifiable. Yes.
Is there any estimates in addition to the 3 million, was it like 5 or 5.5 million for estimated income?
Yes, that's, that, in fact, it's specified. And that would be on the, based on the, well, the assessed value of the for 5 years, we agreed that the property value of that casino that's built will be $250 million. And so the assessed value of that, if my memory serves, it's about $173 million, 70% of that. And then it would, the money from that, which would be our property taxes, is approximately $5.5 million. So that just goes right in the general fund. Hopefully it'll lower our taxes a little bit, but it'll take time to get there. We won't get the full property taxes until with the certificate of occupancy is given to the casino, and that could take, from this time they start building, it could take as many as 2 years to build it, and so we wouldn't see, and then there would be a put on the grand list, so it would be the third year we'd start seeing that money, at least the full amount of that money.
I'm a little leery of counting our chickens before they're hatched, but the more information we can get into this ordinance that's going to appear on the ballot, the more overwhelming response perhaps that we can get in a positive way that will have an effect on other legislation.
Yeah, I agree that it's time we start talking about it, and it's time we start publicizing it, and we'll start doing it. I just wanted to get all the ducks in a row. I told you the general plan, but I'd like to talk to the registrars and make sure everything's correct, because it's kind of tricky to do it simultaneously with a governor's election, a state election.
Are we gonna have any public meetings before this so people understand this ordinance?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, because I come to a lot of meetings, I don't even understand it all yet.
No, I agree.
And I think we need to have the public.
Good idea.
Because it'd be a no vote if.
I think they have to
We're not
understand,
educated.
Tom, what they're going to be voting for. That's really important.
Yeah, people need to know what they're voting for.
Absolutely.
Keith?
So it sounds like there's a separate process. This ballot is going to be a separate referendum than the regular election process. Because if this was part of the election process, you would have all these restrictions in terms of what you're allowed to say after you send it to referendum, and there's a deadline for approving it for referendum on the ballot. So it sounds like you have an advantage of doing it this way, which is it's like a separate town referendum occurring at the same time as the election, but you won't have all the constraints and limitations if it was on the election ballot. And this way, for example, you're not allowed to advocate, as you can't do that. You're not allowed to send out literature or anything that takes sides. It has to be completely neutral. But for a regular referendum, like a town meeting to referendum, there's no restrictions on that.
That's right. We don't have to follow any of the state election specifications or documentation. This is our own referendum. We have to follow the state statutes that apply to a referendum. As you say, it's a town meeting that we can have that goes directly to referendum. So it would go through a town meeting, but we wouldn't actually have the town meeting. The Board of Selectmen would say we're going to hold the town meeting, and then at 5 days before the date of the town meeting, the Board of Selectmen would say we're going to move it to a referendum.
So I'm glad to clarify it, because if people are confused out in the public at some point about, that it's not following the election rules.
Yes.
Or they have complaints about it because they expected to follow the rules for, if it was a referendum on election ballot, they need to be educated that to know that there's no problems, that no one's doing anything wrong, that this is a proper way to do this. And there may be people that are opposed to this going to referendum that may be looking to say, well, is it violating any election laws? But it's not, because clearly you're doing a separate referendum ballot that's just running alongside the regular election process. And then, as you say, you have a separate system in case a property owner wants to vote, they have the right to vote through their property rights, not, it has nothing to do with their election, the rights to vote in a government election.
Yeah, and I've been working through that, and what prompted me was the town clerk, and I did have, I don't think I have it with me, but I had that list of dates, and there are, some of them already passed, that if you were going, and you could, technically, some things you can put on the same ballot as the candidates for an election, but you're right, this is a completely separate referendum that's going to be staged the same day as the election.
I think the deadline was like tonight, so if you were...
I think you're right.
I think it's 60 days. If you would put out a vote tonight to include this as part of the... and then there'll be some more language that would have to be part of it. So I think this is a smart way to do it, and it allows the more public debate over the pros and cons, and without all those some of those other restrictions. So it's more, to me, it's a more open process for dealing with the local.
This is just a regular referendum. It just, by putting it on the same days as the ballot, it makes it convenient for the residents to participate.
Andy pretty much covered the timeline questions regarding the litigation settlement, and nobody's going to give them up. Nobody's going to, I think, venture gambling, yes, as the one that's going to be gambled. But it would be nice, I would like to know personally anyway, what the status is of the myriad of Mylars and drawings that have to be put together, and how far they are along, so that when the time comes, what has to be done for them to apply for the building permit.
Well, when they apply, they'll have to give us those plans and the construction plan. So that's it. It'll take at least a month, probably more. It'll take a month for us to just review them, and we will hire out to a private contractor to do that, just to make sure that the building and all the aspects and facets of it comply to the state building code statutes. So we have to make sure they're building correctly. And if there's something that it doesn't follow the building codes, then we'll have to go back to them and say, this isn't according to code, whether it's egress or something like that, and or in the foundation, who knows what it is, whether electrical, and they'll have to correct it before they can even start building. And then when we approve it, then they can start building. So
My question more was for MMCT, are you 25% there, 50%, 75%?
Well, they did say they were working on the drawings. Now, how much they're doing on that, that's a big job. That's a huge job. When we have those Mylars and the construction plans, then we know they're pretty serious about building that casino. They've planned it all. Anything else about the casino?
Are they in front of the state now for the traffic?
That's a good question, and that we should ask them.
Well, because I think that they were through us. They're through the planning and zoning here.
Yes.
And I think that's the state traffic.
I don't know the answer to that. I can get it for the next meeting, but that's a good question. And I know generally what the general traffic flow, I think, was they expected people to come in on exit 45 and kind of exit on exit 44. That was the general idea of the whole thing, but not sure where they are in the DOT. Okay, if there's no more comments, go on to the leave. What's the next one?
Oh, real quick,
Okay, go ahead.
the handout you had here, is that available on our website or anything?
The ordinance?
Yeah.
Well, that's a good question too. I don't know.
Well,
It's time we put it up there.
make it that way.
Yeah, I agree. And we can put it on Facebook, we publicize it. That's
Get it
correct.
out there for people to see.
Okay, so the American Heritage River Commission, if there's,
Sorry, Robert, we're looking for you.
It's okay, dear. Hello. So just, I wanted to recap. The American Heritage River Commission has completed the paperwork for the 2 grants that we've received. We got a grant for $5,200 in 2016. That was a maintenance grant for our trails. We completed what we said we were going to do, and the paperwork was submitted. DEP said, thank you very much, closed deal. The second grant that we got on behalf of the town was the $85,000 to do the walkway. We have, the walkway is in place. We've done preliminary stuff to finish that grant. Paperwork is in.
What do you have to do, Barb, to close that grant out?
Okay, we had to tell them, go back and take the grant and show them that we did what we said we were going to do. We had to provide a finance statement where the monies went, even though they received all the invoices and paid them or gave us the money to pay them. It's a recap. Okay, so there's a whole list of what you need to fulfill. 7 steps, paperwork went in, done. It was, both of the grants were finished as of August 7th. You have 30 days to do the paperwork, which is tomorrow. Paperwork was done as of Tuesday. Done. But when we put in the grant for the walkway, the original grant called for $127,000 to do what we wanted to do. And that's the total. A grant, you would get only 80%, and you have to match 20% either with volunteer hours or materials or work that's done to do that. We received $85,000, which was the cost of the walkway. There was nothing else. The match was $21,250. We solicited people to donate gravel, people to do in-kind services. The highway department did some remediation at the apron. Volunteer hours were 345. So we matched. Everybody was happy. But there's new grant money out there. And those who received a partial grant last year were encouraged, if they wanted to apply for the rest of it. So I am. Okay?
And that will be how much money?
It's $17,000. Well, you put in a budget for what you need. The remainder is 17. That can be tweaked here or there. It's not to say we're going to get it absolutely, but you do tend to have a higher boot up, you know,
And what would
because
you
you've
do
got
with
part
that?
of it. Okay, we said we were going to do a Braille trail. We had the Braille signs made, and they were temporarily installed on the bridge fencing. We need to permanently install them. We also said we were going to provide a handicap porta potty. So far, we've only been able to bring a portable toilet down to the site whenever we've done events. But our grant said we were going to have one on site. So
A permanent one on site?
A handicap portable toilet.
Permanent on
Yeah,
site?
well, we're going to try and lease it, and hopefully there's enough money to do that. So that's what, and we have more trails to do. It's very, very wet on the west side of the river. So we will need to do what we call mud walks. So we bring in material, We take some down trees, cut them up into logs, and then put some planking across it so that you don't have people walking through mud, slopping along through mud, okay? If we build a bridge, and we have built some bridges, they are 6 feet wide because they have to accommodate a horse, because the state park is open for horseback riding. Most of what we would be doing in that section would be more mud walks. The horses can walk through mud, so they don't have to be 6 foot wide.
Does this money expand the scope, or does it just,
We're hoping that it will stay within that scope so you don't have to ask for more, so we would have maybe more of an ability to get a yes.
okay.
Don't know whether or not we're going to, but
Is there a lot more work to be done as you see it beyond the money you've already acquired and are reporting on, and the 17,000 you're looking for? Is there more money you'd like to get to do more things in that area?
oh golly, yes. Do you have some?
Yeah. It's all silver, but yes.
If I had my way and somebody had a magic wand, I would like to see a handicap fishing area. But that river has moved several times, and for us to get to the river on that west side, we would be going very far out, and if we're asking handicapped people to go, it would be a longer trek for them to get there. I hope that we would be closer.
There is more scope than that would make it better.
Right.
Can you apply for additional grants for that?
Maybe in the future, okay? Right now, I personally don't have the time or energy to look into it, to get prices, et cetera. So I'm hoping to just finish what we originally said we wanted to do.
Yep.
Going forward, you know, maybe we can do more. But I just wanted you to know that this is what we're applying for. I've already spoken to Bob, and he said yes, but I wanted the rest of the board to know.
That's good.
That's a good looking job.
Okay. Second thing, the River Commission's charter said that we were to look for recreational property to help the residents have recreational activity, land available for activities. We did a work party 2 weeks ago to clear an area in the river from filter beds down to what's called Sabonis Landing. The Sabonis family was going to be having a picnic, and that was kind of the impetus for our guys to get in there, and our guys and gals to get in there and make sure that the river was open. In talking to Ms. Sabonis, I found out that the property that she and her sister donated 2 years ago, there's a piece next to it, or adjacent to it, that belongs to Barbara Sabonis herself, and she'd be willing to sell that to the town if there was some open space money. But Bob and I have talked, doesn't appear to be. I know nothing about whether or not this is a good thing to buy, whether it's a great piece. I only know that it's adjacent. It would make that park bigger.
I think it's 14 acres, isn't it?
It's 16 acres,
16 acres.
so $16,000, $1,000.
So 1,000, it's a
But-
reasonable price.
Okay.
Yeah.
Again, I
In
have
my
not
opinion.
researched whether there's something better or whatever. I'm just saying, it was whispered in our ear, by the way. So I'm just throwing it out. Again, one of those, ooh, if we had, you know, money, that'd be something that maybe would work. Okay?
Is there a map, Bob, that we can look at that shows what that's,
There is a map
where
for when,
that property is versus what you
Yeah.
currently have?
GIS.
there is a map when the land was donated. And I believe it's here in Town Hall.
We'll bring it next meeting.
Yeah, I'd like to see that, see
Sure.
where that piece that they want to
It's
sell.
right adjacent to the
Yeah.
river, so it runs right
Yeah,
along the river.
okay. We'll take a look at that.
All righty.
Perfect.
Thank you, brother.
It'd make a
Thank you,
great
thank you.
linear park.
Good job.
Pardon?
It'd make a great linear park along the river, like what Enfield has.
You can leave that.
From Skinnacoe
You can leave the chair.
down,
It's gonna get
they
used.
have a linear park that basically just follows the river.
Yeah.
It'd be the same idea. It'd be a beautiful piece of property.
And it's fairly reasonable because it probably wouldn't be built, so it'd be ideal for us. in a way.
Right.
Barbara, before you go, with the property you currently have, and if you did get access to this other property, the, what did you say, 14 acres is it?
16.
16 acres.
Is that something that would have to be cleared by our town folks in Lynn's organization, or what happens to that? Do you leave it wooded? Do you somehow clear it so people can walk along the river, or what?
Well, we actually have a great band of volunteers. In fact, right now, what's called Sabonis Landing, that park, is mowed by Ed Philippone. He lives across the street and up a little bit, so he mows his lawn, he comes across the street and he mows that one. The volunteers from the River Commission were the first to kind of cut through, beat down, you know, and then Ed Philippone has just been maintaining it. I assume that's what would happen going forward, that, you know, on a Saturday when they have nothing else to do.
Yeah.
The merry
There's a lot of that
band,
going around.
the merry band of volunteers would be down there with machetes and weed whackers and whatever, and try and clear it. And
You know, acquiring the
once it's-
land is step one, but maybe a more difficult step is making it useful. Because it requires a lot,
Clearing
probably.
the trail is simple.
Say it again, Tom?
Clearing the trail is easy compared to some things. The trail is, we can work in the winter. The river, we're confined to only the summer months. So when the rivers we haven't been able to get on the river for almost 2 years now.
A long time ago, I don't know who was selectman at the time, but this goes back probably 15, 20 years. Down where at the foot of Church Street, where the sewer plant used, you know, the subsystem plant is, during one winter, the town operations people went in and they cleared all that out, cut down small trees that really looked nice for several years. It's of course now all grown back again, but it's a heck of a good winter project if Lynn could, you know, could get his people to do something like that.
Again, we have Ray Jones, a former member of the River Commission, and he's a former member only because his health precludes him from making meetings and he didn't want to take a spot away from someone else. He's down at that filter bed area. It's clean. There's no trash because he picks up the trash. He puts up barriers so people don't drive into the river, which has happened. So we have a great band of volunteers in this town, not just our commission, but others. And you get a lot of miles out of volunteers for free.
Just as a general question, Bob, is that something that during the winter when probably our public works department is not quite so busy that they could help with?
I have to ask Lenny.
Yeah.
They might be plowing snow.
They did do a really great job
Yeah.
one time at the foot of Church Street. Like I say, it goes back a long time, but they worked on it during the winter and they really did a fine job.
Okay, well, keep that in mind.
I mean, our trails do get used.
Say again, Tom?
Our trails do get used. The trail in Melrose is used almost, I'm gonna say every day people are on that trail.
Really? That's
The
cool.
summertime, it gets a little tough because it just overgrows. But in the winter, in the fall through the spring, there's people on it every day. People walking their dog, mountain bikers. There's a lot of people on that 2.5 mile trail. And it takes a lot of work for us to maintain it.
Yep.
And we now have people coming from Enfield,
Yeah.
cutting through and coming across the walkway.
Before they go on the trail, give them a bow saw, tell them they gotta take it.
Yeah.
We do encourage people to carry clippers with them, because if there's a vine or two, there's nothing to stop you from, you know, cutting back that vine as you're walking.
And if you come down the west side of the river from Enfield, you're not that far from the East Windsor line. It really is not that far. It's probably not even a quarter of a mile, the Enfield line on that side. It's a little hairy to get through right now. Hopefully when winter comes.
And one of the trails that we will be hoping to make on that west side will connect with the trails that Canyon Ridge has. So that's going to make a nice circuit for people to walk. snowshoe, cross-country ski.
Okay, Broad Brook Mill remediation. Jessica.
Hello, Jensen.
Hello.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good.
So firstly, we had a special meeting on the 21st, and I want to thank the board, selectmen members who came and have good input, and for a lot of the folks that are here tonight who were also there and had a lot of great input and asked a lot of questions. Just to sort of recap where we're at, you know, this committee has been tasked with looking at the Broad Brook Mill site and the plan that's been put in place. So we know that the site is contaminated. We've known that for 20 years. We know that there's a large area spread with coal ash. We know that there's smaller areas that higher levels, higher concentrations of materials. We know that there's a plume of contamination in the groundwater under that site. We know that the current plan, the remediation action plan, the RAP, calls for putting a cap over most of that site and taking some of the higher concentration materials, some of the hot spots, removing a small portion of that off the site, but putting a lot of that in a contamination sort of area, a containment area behind Broad Brook Congregational Church, putting an impermeable barrier over that and leaving it on site.
So building what exactly I said at the meeting, they're building a toxic waste dump.
They're leaving the material there.
It's a toxic waste dump.
So part of what we were trying to determine, our committee was trying to determine is, you know, where can we find a common ground? Where can we find some compromise from United Technologies and their plan? We don't want any contamination in our town, in the center of Broad Brook. That's not good for us. It's not good for future development. They'll push their opinion that other sites have been developed similarly, but we know our town. We know what we want and don't want. We don't want that there. At our special meeting on the 21st, we had Bill Penn from UTC and Rob Robinson from DEEP, who was also here to answer our questions, to talk about that plan. And we learned at that meeting that nothing about that plan is going to change. So we've asked about moving that contamination sort of site, getting rid of that stuff, 1,300, I'm going to get them cubic yards, thank you. Getting rid of that, getting it off site. We talked about it earlier this evening. And their plan is not going to change. So now we need to talk about what we do going forward. So just because we got an answer that we don't like doesn't mean that our committee stops. We just work harder to go towards what is in the best interest of the town. And someone else had said this evening, I haven't heard anybody from this town say, sure, leave all the contamination here, that'll work out just fine. What we've heard from town folks, people who have come to our meetings, letters that have been sent from organizations in town, they don't want it. People are not in support of it. So now our next steps going forward, we want to continue to still look at any other avenue that could help us stop this plan or keep it from going forward as it's been presented, and present those options to the town. Present that to you all for consideration. We want to also encourage the town to continue to look for private sector development. UTC says they're open to conversation if a developer has an idea and wants to come in, is interested in that property. We think the town should continue to pursue that option as well by exploring a variety of options, but also we know that there's the Capital Region Council of Governance, CROG. People use a lot of acronyms, got to find out what it means. Utilizing those resources, the Main Street Initiative, and other avenues that the town has. We also want to continue to, increase our efforts to educate the townspeople. We want to get this information available to everyone so they have it and they know what's going to happen. Because UTC is going to have their public meeting. It looks like based on the schedule that we saw for them, that would be in November or December. So we want to make sure that the townspeople are educated, that they're going to have that meeting, educated on what the plan is, coming in with their questions, being ready to give comment, because those comments have to be considered by DEEP. DEEP has to take those comments under consideration, and that is going to be a big opportunity for the townspeople to be able to do that. Part of making that information out there is making the plan available on the town website. I've sent that to the town. I don't think it's up yet. It's a pretty big file. But making that information available on the town website. A couple folks had also talked about printing it out and having it available at both libraries. And so I don't know how we would get that printed. But we definitely, okay, we definitely want to do that pretty quick so that we can get them there so people can check them out. We also want to put the report from our consultant that we hired on the town website. And I think I sent that over when I sent the file with the current RAP. So get that up on the town website as well. We also want to continue to work with folks in town. Like I said, folks have already reached out to us. Townspeople have already come to us, emailed us, come to our meetings. We want to continue to talk to them and offer whatever information we have, answer whatever questions we have, and put ourselves out there even more so that they know that this is happening. They're prepared and armed with the information that's necessary to give their comment to the folks who are the decision makers and the plan makers. And it's important that we all have our voices heard. And then we'll also continue to relay all of that to UTC. They still attend our meetings. Bill came, I think he's here tonight, and he also came to our meeting Wednesday, so we didn't scare him at our special meeting, so that's good. Continuing to relay that information to DEEP, because they're a part of this. The state's money is involved in this. And continuing to also relay that information to the State Historic Preservation Office, because this is a historic property on the National Register of Historic Places. This is our historic property here in Broadbrook. It's important to the town, and they're a part of this. And after the DEEP meeting, there's going to be a Section 106 meeting, another public hearing meeting where folks can offer comments. I believe that one runs a little bit different. Those comments will come from the town, come from the historic preservation, the town's historic preservation commission, the historical society. But again, we can act as a liaison with all of the townspeople to continue to relay that information to them so they understand that it's not just the environmental impact but the historical impact of the plan that they have in place. And that's what I got for you.
Okay, we don't know the dates of these two hearings you mentioned.
Not the exact dates, so they're probably going to be reaching out to the town, to you, to begin to set up those dates. They sent us their most recent copy of their bi-monthly progress report, and on that it has like a little timeline sort of showing that those meetings are scheduled in their mind, November, December, so I'm sure they're going to be reaching out to you for that.
All right.
I still don't understand how they think that they don't have a permit, number one, that they can build a toxic waste dump.
Charlie, you can't call it a toxic waste dump because DEEP doesn't call it that. You can't call it that. It's consolidated on the site. That's how they get around that. You can't call it a toxic dump because it's technically not.
I guess the difference is...
That's how they worded it.
I disagree. It is what it is.
It's there. It's already there.
But they're going to dig it out and they're going to dump it over here and create a toxic waste dump.
But they're not bringing in more stuff.
No, but they're taking it and they're dumping it over here. That's a toxic waste dump. And there's no permits that have been taken for that. What's that?
If you keep referring it as a toxic waste dump, it's going to deter outside people from ever wanting to come to East Windsor. So any hope you have of marketing that property to get an investor,
it is what it is,
it's going to be out the window.
And we're going to fight that to the end, just like we did about having a nuclear waste dump that was going to be built here. You probably weren't involved in that.
I was involved in that back then. It's completely two different things. One was a dump. This isn't. This is contaminated land with remediation. And I'm not going to argue. You can argue for the next 10 years and you're not going to change your mind. And this side of the room is not going to change your mind. But I just caution you as a representative that was elected to the Board of Selectmen, everybody has to be on the same page up there. You can't have your own private agenda.
That's for true.
Okay, I have to bring up what Paul brought up too. And Bill, we've got a price now, $455,000 to truck these volatile chemicals out of here, 1,300 cubic yards. And as Paul said, and you know, I guess the state has put aside, I believe it's $3.9 million.
Correct.
And already, I think, I'm not sure exactly, maybe 2.7 has been spent?
So at the, one of the questions that we asked at the meeting, the special meeting, one of the questions we asked Deep was about how those funds are split up. He didn't give us exact numbers, but it's split up into a third. So a third at the beginning, a third in the middle, and then a third at the end. So whatever a third is, seems to be the remaining amount, 1 point whatever million, the amount that is still available. And I think at this point, you know, we talked a lot about numbers, because I think we could understand, you know, if they said it was going to be $10 million, we can work with you. We were trying to find an area of compromise. If there's no area of compromise, even with us trying to meet in the middle, at this point, I think we push for clearing that contaminated area, getting as much contamination out of there, regardless of what any cost estimates are.
Well, that's true, but I guess what I'm saying is, if there's $1.3 million left, then they could certainly take, you know, 500,000 and just move the volatile term. Yeah.
You have to understand though,
Perfect.
Who is that?
I think that's what we've tried to say the whole time.
Yeah.
You know, what is the cost? Because if there is this money out there,
Yeah.
why can't it be used for that? I think that's a very important question of what we need to ask, and we need to ask that question of UTC as well as of DEEP.
Yeah, I don't think we're getting an
But
answer.
Jessica, we've
haven't gotten an
asked
answer.
that question, and we do not get an answer on it. And just, you know, thinking about it a little bit, sure, they've got a plan together. They plan to execute that sometime in 2019, or start the remediation in 2019. But there is a forever monitoring process, which would probably, over a long time period of time, eat up that remaining $1.2 or $3 million that's left. I suspect some of that money goes into monitoring.
Yeah,
Because
actually,
they're committed to monitor this thing, you know, forever, and that's a long time.
I'm frustrated now too. And so I think we have to take steps now. And I know Charlie has mentioned before, maybe go to the press. We've got to get, nobody's listening to us.
I think we're there because.
I think they're just nodding their heads.
Because UT just, you know, they're unbending. They are what, they're doing what they want to do.
Yeah. Deep's agreed, they're going to do it, and we can pound
There's
sand.
something very strange that's going on there, why they won't tell us.
We've asked questions about.
There's something very strange about that.
I guess FOI, I know.
DEEP's function is solely to protect the citizens of the state of Connecticut, and that's not what this looks like at all. And not to get the answers to these basic questions. And you've done it for how long, and the town has done it. We will have some investigation that goes on.
Yeah.
There's
So
something
maybe
else going on
we
here
have
that
to, I'll
the
talk to
public needs to know.
I think we've got to get more involved.
I think,
Absolutely.
you know, a next step would be to go to our legislative representatives like Davis
Yeah.
and Larson and say, you know, please help us. We can't get answers. What in the hell do they want to do with this? There's some money left. What are they going to do with it?
That, to me, Andy, we need to have an investigation.
And
An investigation, because there's something going on. Not to answer that. It's
Usually
taxpayers'
said,
money.
difficult to do, yeah.
It's taxpayers' money.
Yeah, yeah.
But that's why we don't stop. That is why we continue. That is why we
Yeah.
will reach out to our other state representatives. and get them involved as well. Everybody should be involved, because I think, as someone else mentioned, it's not a Broadbrook problem or a Warehouse Point problem, it's an entire town issue. It affects everybody in this town. It affects our economic development here in Broadbrook. It goes against our plan of conservation and development. It goes against what we want to see here. So this is an everyone, no one is divided in this town issue.
Have you looked at any organizations statewide or nationally that get involved in this kind of thing that can provide some support here, some experience?
So someone had sent me a link, but that didn't sort of, I thought it would lead to sort of something like that, like, hey, does this give us some guidance?
Yeah.
And it really didn't. It had some good information and information that we could post and how we could share education, educate folks on what we're dealing with. But I think there have to be, we're not the only town who has ever dealt with a contaminated property. And we're not even the only town that has dealt with a property contaminated by UTC. If you do the research, you can find that there's other properties across the country. So I think there has to be other resources as well.
We had organizations nationally that came forward to help us with the nuclear waste stuff. Today, I don't know what those were, but, I would think that there's something like that. I'll do some looking myself.
Absolutely.
See what I find.
I was thinking too, I wonder, they have booths at the Heritage Day?
Yeah, we have vendor tables, so if you want.
So could we put
a form?
I'll sit at a.
We said if they were too full, we would just blend and pretend like we had a booth.
Well, we could.
Just give me the form, just give me the form and I'll play with it.
Yeah, and we could have a petition that people sign and things like that. We could really, I mean, that's the little, small thing, but it's to start.
And I can say that stuff like that has already started, and not even from us, but from townspeople that are concerned.
Yeah, well, get the names, get the email addresses, and we'll see if we can start beating the bushes.
We need to get out to the public.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Keith.
I wanted to go back to what Charlie said earlier, semantics aside, because everybody has their own way of characterizing what the issue is. They told us that if moving that stuff off-site, if they were to put it on another property, it would be illegal. That would be a legal act to take that material and put it off-site. They're not allowed to do that. They told us that at the meeting, the public meeting. That's an illegal activity. That's because the material is dangerous and toxic, and Charlie will say it's creating a toxic dump. Someone else will say it's creating a, it's moved, but
consolidation area.
But it's illegal to do it on another property. In fact, it would be illegal to move it down the road and put it on another property. It was illegal to move it back to Hamilton Sunstrom property. They're not allowed to put on UTC property even if they wanted to, because it's against the law. But they have a loophole which allows this illegal activity to occur on the same property. They can move it from one area of the property, dig it up, and dump it on another area. They have a nice term, which is consolidation area. Charlie has a different term for it. But the fact is, it's illegal if you did it anywhere else, but there's simply a loophole that allows them to exploit this loophole to conduct what I consider to be an illegal activity legally on this property. So we get the brunt the town bears the brunt of dumping, moving, whatever you want to call it, this hazardous carcinogens onto the same site. Whereas if it was off-site, it would be against the law, someone would be in jail. So, Charlie, I respect your characterization. I say that, other people want to call it consolidation. It is whatever you want to name it, it's the same thing. They're taking carcinogens and restocking them, they're stockpiling them on the Broadbrook property.
Yeah, but Keith, we have a company for $500,000 that said they'd take it off-site.
Isn't that crazy? And that's the max price, because that's not the price, as everyone is here saying, that doesn't include the delta, the cost for them to build this cap and to do all the rest of that. So that's the max price.
But you said it was illegal to take it off-site, but it isn't.
They can take it off to a legal landfill.
Yes.
That's the only legal activity that they're allowed to do is put it in a legal landfill, except they get to dump it back on our property legally too. That's the other thing.
Yeah,
That's
they can
the-
do two things.
The two things,
Yeah.
is stick it on our property, the carcinogens in another spot, or bring them to a lawful landfill, and they've chosen, to, instead of bringing them to a lawful landfill and to put the carcinogens where they belong, they've decided to put them right back on our property. And so, I think semantics is unimportant at this point, because it is what it is. People are gonna perceive it either way. I think the issue is not to debate the semantics, but to debate the reality of what's happening. And so as long as we educate the public about what's happening, they can call it whatever they want, as far as I'm concerned. And people shouldn't be frightened about the process. They should demand the change. You shouldn't have fear of it. You should demand the outcome that we need. So we don't have to have fear of it. That's my opinion. Charlie, I appreciate the comments earlier, and I just think he has his own way of characterizing, and I have mine, and each his own, as far as I'm concerned.
Okay. I'd like a copy of those notes you have, so,
Oh, okay, I'll email them to you.
or Xerox them.
Oh, you can't read that. There's arrows, there's stuff all over the
All right,
place.
no,
I'll
that'd
put
be
it
great.
together
Yeah.
in a nice email, so
All
you
right.
can read them.
Yeah,
And-
we have to communicate
and,
more. And like, if you don't see what you want on our website, you send me an email right away, with big letters. Highlight, yeah.
You know, Keith mentioned another thing, if there were reasonable compromises being negotiated and there was an open dialogue from both sides, I don't want to take credit for it, there was another member of their committee, however, that suggested, all right, so we get it up, we get it out of there, you know, we got some land up here near the reservoir that we could provide some fill and some cover with, and work with them.
We're not gonna take that.
Yeah, why are we gonna roll?
Well, I don't understand what you're saying, Bob. We're not gonna put toxic chemicals up in.
No.
What do you, I didn't
No,
misunderstand.
why would we wanna ruin
Fill in the
a
hole.
property that has good fill on it and give it to somebody else?
You're saying you're just looking for fill?
Yeah, pre-fill.
We'll get dirt, we can get dirt. Yeah,
Well, one thing, first thing, Bob's great idea of hauling the material to a private property is illegal, and Colgate can take the property back. If you read the contract when we bought the property.
I
Can
think
only
he-
be used for town uses on town
Well,
property.
that wouldn't be a bad idea either.
Another thing, Andy come up with something and it's brushed right over everybody's head. If that toxic garbage goes out of there, the monitoring is gonna basically disappear. And once you start digging that stuff up, it's gonna go everywhere. You know, I don't care what you do.
So you're
And
saying
the
that
more
we
you
should
move
leave it
around,
there?
The more good material you're gonna combine with the toxic material or the bad material, whatever you wanna call it, or
What are you saying, Dick? I have no
the
idea.
more you dig it out,
What, you said what?
digging out this bad material. Let's say there's 10 yards in a hole. By the time you dig it out and put it in a truck, move it to another pile, you made 20 out of it.
So you're
And then they
saying,
move it again, you'll make 40 out of it.
so what you're saying is what they're doing is messing it up.
Every time you
Kind of-
do it, the material, you gotta take a little good material with the bad to make sure you get all the bad. They're just gonna keep making the pile bigger. Load it on the truck or the dumpster or the rail car or whatever you want, take it to a legal landfill and dispose of it properly. End of problem.
Okay, I like it.
And I think we all agree with that.
Yeah, well, maybe it's time we're gonna have to hire an attorney. Maybe we'll get a new attorney general, things will straighten out.
Maybe yes, maybe no. Go ahead, Paul.
Okay, just for clarification, the quote included filling in the hole. You don't need any
Oh,
fill.
okay.
You don't need anything. This is the least expensive, simplest way to make this go away. And everybody wins. Everybody wins. Because you don't have to monitor something for 35 years or 50 years if it's not there. So overall, is there a cost savings? Yeah. And can we use taxpayer money to make it happen? Yeah, it's there.
Taxpayer being the
You
state
see,
money.
Paul, that's what bothers me. If you don't take it out of there, then you're right, you're gonna be monitoring it forever,
Yeah,
and you never know what you're gonna run into someplace on that way to forever.
correct.
And
won't be
you'll be
right.
dealing with it in the year 2025 or something like that, digging a bigger hole someplace, or trying to, or getting rid of the wells that the Connecticut Water Company has, because they're gonna come contaminated. I
Nonsense.
just do not understand that UTC. It is not the UTC I knew. When I was in management at Hamilton, if there was a problem in the town of Windsor Locks that Hamilton could help out with, we helped them.
Yep.
And we're not asking for something unreasonable.
There you
But this
go.
United Technologies does not listen. They are unbending with this thing, and I don't understand it. It's a different company. I wrote a letter to the CEO of the company a couple of 3 weeks ago, and I tried to explain what our situation was. And at the end, I said, you know, my hope is, from my experience with the company, that this letter will get to someone who cares and who will help us fix this problem. Because my background with the company is there are people out there who do care and will help to fix it. This is not a big problem for that corporation, and I do not understand why they are so unbending in their position. It just doesn't. It isn't the measure of that company I thought I knew. I've been away for a long time, 30 years.
But they also said is they got approval from DEEP, and DEEP approves whether I agree with the remediation or not, and I don't. But if DEEP's approved it, they're
done.
Are done as far as they're concerned. They did everything legally.
You're exactly right.
You know, so our concern would be, our selectmen should be going to DEEP to find out why they approved something without coming back to the town.
I don't think.
Jason asked for over a year to have a meeting with them.
Because I think it really does lie with UTC. You know, if UTC says, I want to do it better, DEEP would certainly not object to it. I think what we're getting is a minimum treatment, and we need better than that, and we're not getting better than that.
Yeah, Bob?
You know, I recall at that last public meeting here, a representative from DEEP, Rob, I believe it was, and Bob, saying on 2 occasions.
Robert Robinson.
Yes. He said on 2 occasions, I feel like I'm defending these people. And you know, I'm going back to all of these meetings that I've attended and watched on the YouTube, and we all have a different way of expressing our concerns and what should be done, how much we should give, how much we should take. And after tonight, I'll repeat myself again. I have heard yet from one citizen taxpayer in the town of East Windsor say, yeah, we think they're going to do what they should do, and that's going to be all right with me. So maybe it's time to say what Charlie Swansky said a few decades ago on another issue. Fish are cut bait.
Okay, yeah, Bill.
I think your environmental services down there, they move millions of material all over the country that has this material. They know how to get rid of it. They want to do the whole job themselves. They don't want Hamilton going digging up here or hiring somebody else to do a little bit. They want to be responsible for it, and they are responsible. We had a rollover of a drilling rig up here on North Road about 2 months ago. And right away we called them up there, they were there in 5 minutes. They had 5 trucks there. They took all the dirt out from the material that the guy had on his truck. They piled it all up, they took it all up, they covered it all up, and they took it out of town. This company down there, if you go down there, they're a big company. I mean, they're not just in South Windsor. They're all over the country. And these guys know how to get rid of this material. They took the mercury out of there. They're familiar with that site after that burned down. And they'll do it. And that's the price that he gave me. And it's a standard price per cubic yard to take it out of there.
Okay, yeah, Paul.
Yeah, okay. I think it's very important when we communicate with the general public here that the meeting that DEEP is planning to have is characterized by them as a public information meeting, not a public hearing. Big difference. We're going to tell you something. That's public information. Our goal is to tell you what's going to happen. That is not a case for you to bend it, twist it, change it. Doesn't mean it couldn't happen, but that's not their goal. The goal is to inform the public what we decided. That's the purpose of that meeting. So if you think you're gonna have a wide open public hearing, or they're gonna be loving your input, that isn't the case at all. And everybody needs to know that as soon as possible, because that meeting is a joke. That's not a productive meeting. Too late, they've already done whatever they're gonna do. And while they can listen to you and they have to, quote, consider it, they don't have to do anything about it at all. There's no onus on them to make any changes. That's not the same as a public hearing where things are changed based on public input. You gotta know that, and so action has to be taken long before that meeting,
Exactly.
because that's too late.
I agree.
Exactly, which is why I continue to encourage everyone to attend our meetings, write letters, write comments. You can send it to me and we can send it to Deep. I know when Mr. Robinson was here, he said to send it to him. You send it to him and you send it to the commissioner of Deep. You send it to the guy in charge so that you know everybody's getting the information. You send it to UTC, you send it to ACOM. You make sure that the public is aware of all of these letters that everybody is sending.
Yeah.
You tell the media who want to know what's going on and what the feel is. But everybody needs to get their voice involved, because you talk about the 20 or 30 years ago when they wanted to put the nuclear waste facility. It was everybody in multiple towns vocalizing that they
Exactly.
did not want it, and that's what made it not happen.
That's exactly right.
It was everybody all at once in one loud voice saying this isn't gonna happen here, and having signs in their yard and glowing cows in their farms to let people know this wasn't gonna
We had
happen.
a huge outpouring
Yeah.
to support that, to turn that down.
And you know, we talked about, I think we're getting down to a point where now we really got to get on with the program and get something done, because I hate to talk back decades ago, but we were talking about maybe we need to get our state rep and our state senator involved in this. Let me tell you, during that nuclear waste, the sponsor of the whole program to put that nuclear waste dump in town was our former state representative.
Well, but right now, I think they'll help us, so
I think so too.
it's time to get everybody involved.
Exactly.
And it includes Carroll Hall, because they're
Yeah.
East Windsor on that side of town.
It's true.
Ninth District
It's
is
true.
part of East Windsor.
No question.
I think the representative from Deep, the last comment he made was, you're really not concerned about covering up the coal tar. We're not concerned about that in town. Because that's all over town anyway, you covered up, you're concerned about this 1,300 yards.
All the chemicals, yeah.
And he listened to us.
His
Well, that
comment at the
13
end, I
years.
think, was, maybe we should change it. So I think you gotta get to that guy and tell him, we like that plan.
Yeah.
We all need to tell them.
Right.
I think we did make an impression on
Yes.
him.
Right.
Yeah.
I really think, because we came out and said, if we do something with that 1,300 yards, where would you stand as
Right.
a town?
And I think
Nobody
we gotta make
answered
that
it, which
comment
was
to him.
probably our mistake, but we should have at least given them some answer.
Yeah.
A little,
Yeah.
Okay, all right. I'll talk to them. Good.
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
Okay. Next agenda item, I'll go over it quickly. I just wanted to say that the Connecticut Conference of Municipalities Annual Convention is going to be October 30th to the 31st. So there's a lot of good workshops they're going to have. It's going to be at Foxwoods, so that'll be a fun place. And so if any of the selectmen here want to go, the town would pay for it. It'd be a good experience. So just want to let you know that that's going on. Also, if you apply, there's an early bird special. You got to apply before October 19th. So there you go. All right. That's all I have for that. Any questions? No. Okay. And we'll have to make a motion to approve the tax refunds. And there's a lot of tax refunds. It's only for, I think it's 14,000. And the reason it's so much, and there's a lot of them, is they didn't do any tax refunds in July, and July is the biggest month for collecting taxes. And the reason they didn't do it, they wanted to make sure everything was straight because of the ordinances that we talked about. And now everything is straight, so there's a lot of small tax refunds. A lot of them have to do with motor vehicles. I'd entertain a motion to, or maybe Charlie, you could move?
Yeah, make a motion to approve the tax refunds in the amount of $14,015.33.
Okay, there's a second?
Second.
Okay, any comments, questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. On to Selectmen comments and reports. Charlie, you have anything?
I don't.
And Steve's not here. Andy?
There was no meeting of the Economic Development Commission, no report.
Yeah, okay. And Jason's not here, and I don't think I have anything to report either. No. So that is the end of the meeting. We'll go into executive session.
Time checks, please.
And we should do that. I have it right here.
Thanks.
And I need 2 signatures in addition to myself. So both of these people have to sign it. Okay, I'd entertain a motion to go into executive session after a 5-minute break.
Make a motion that we adjourn the meeting and go into executive session.
Okay. Second?
Second.
Aye.
All in favor? Aye.
My wall.
I know.